Yeah, babe.
We're going to talk about one of my favorite episodes today,
Mm-hmm.
purely because of the flashbacks.
Oh, my God.
Purely
The flashbacks.
because of the flashbacks. Oh, my goodness. We're talking about Virgins. Virgins, written by the Liz Merriweather.
Directed by Alec Berg.
Mm-hmm.
Gather round. I like that. Yeah.
Yes. Mess around.
Mess around.
That's what I'm talking about. Stand all day. Mess around. All night. Look at that. Mess around.
They messing around. I want to just start by saying the wigs. And I'm speaking personally for me. It's so funny that they show, I think in this episode they showed multiple flashbacks?
Like so many flashbacks. It's all told during a we got to sit around on the couch. I remember we shot that on one day, basically.
Yeah.
Because the bulk of the episode is everyone telling their individual stories, and that's what we spent the most of the time shooting.
I remember when there was the afro that Winston had, which is so stupid. It was like, part of me was like, oh, did Winston ever have a regular haircut back in the past? Because they go from flashback to this weird ass afro. Then they show us at the bar when Schmidt tries to talk to you, and they cut back to the table and have cornrows. It's like, what the fuck is this?
They really went for it with the hairdos. That hair department had so much fun. I remember them panicking when they did the bar flashback because they were going to have Jess kind of have like her bangs swept to the side and have the no bang look. And they didn't want me to have the no bang look. So instead I got those like janky 90s chunky highlights.
Yes.
And it was that wig. And I was like, how am I going to pull this off? This looks crazy. And they kind of scrubbed all the makeup off our face to make us look younger. And I was like, well, that's a gamble. Because you don't know what all of us look like when we haven't been, especially for girls, because you haven't gone through the works. Yeah. So it was kind of funny to watch it back and be like, oh man, we kind of did sell it. It's cute.
Yeah, so fun fact about the younger version of Nick and Winston in that hotel room. They pitched our voices up.
Did they really?
I didn't know that until I watched it. Like our voices, they in post, they pitched our voices up.
I mean, that makes sense. That's smart.
And I forgot about that. I remember doing it normally, like trying to be flirtatious with these prostitutes. And then I remember watching it back recently going, why do I sound like that? I can't get my voice to go that high. And I was like, oh, that's right. They pitched this up a little bit, a couple octaves.
So much dirt on this episode. Why don't you break it down for us?
Here we go. In this episode, we find everyone at the loft telling stories of how they lost their virginities. That's right, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the dirty. From prostitutes to toy castles to extraordinary amounts of lubrication. There might even be some weird German sex toy that we never see. But so that's it. Like you said earlier, written by Liz Merriweather, directed by Alec Berg. Let's take a dive in.
I remember Liz talking about this before we even did the table read. She was so excited, because we had this second season and we could really get to know the characters now. And it's something I feel like all friends at some point discuss. Like, how did you lose your virginity?
I don't know.
I'm not asking. Were you going to tell me?
No. I was saying I don't know if I ever had that discussion. I wasn't going to tell you. I don't mind telling you, but I wasn't. It wasn't. Not, I could tell you. Coming to one of my comedy shows, I'll tell you how I tried.
You had multiple attempts going out trying to lose your virginity. Will somebody take it?
I was trying.
It's right here.
Yeah.
Anyone interested?
I was literally out there soliciting. I was like, I will pay you for sex.
Did they get your storyline from you just chatting at lunch one day?
I was like, please, I don't have that much money. I work at Walmart, and they don't pay me that much. But what? Please,
get you the employee discount. It's 2%.
Well, I couldn't give it away. But yeah, what I'm saying is I don't know, Kyle. So Kyle's back here. Kyle's one of my closest friends in the world. Kyle, have we ever had that talk of how we lost our virginities? Kind of did when joke writing. But like, I don't know how you lost your virginity.
Maybe Kyle told you.
I heard another story. Okay. Yeah. So it didn't.
I think what Kyle is trying to say is he shared it with you and you have found it forgettable.
No.
That man bared his soul and shared a story from his past. And you're like, we never talked about it. And Kyle's like, no, I guess not.
No, but we talked to other stories that we didn't use, but he doesn't know how I actually lost mine.
I feel like you really want to tell the story.
There I was.
Yeah, here we go. Paint a picture.
It was a Wednesday. You know, the misconception about Wednesdays is that it's a boring day, but let me tell you something, not this day.
Hump day.
It was nasty. I was alone.
Okay.
Okay, so Schmidt's going on a date with Elizabeth.
Mm-hmm.
It's a girl he hasn't had sex with since he was big, while Winston has a date with Daisy. Played by the wonderful Brenda song.
Yeah, Brenda.
So this is this is a really funny moment between, again, the flashbacks with young Nick, young Schmidt, and they're, you know, he's asking for advice.
Yeah.
I think he's sitting there questioning Nick about, like, you know, how do I do this? How do I do this thing?
Oh, you're talking about that flashback. There's so many flashbacks. That flashback is so funny. We all had that friend who act like they knew everything. And we're like the sex savants.
Oh my gosh.
And we're going to like make sure that you had all the information.
Right.
I mean, I remember being in high school and there was a girl who says that she'd had sex and it was I remember her just telling everybody it was the greatest thing in the entire world. It's like you see through to another universe. It's the most amazing thing that's ever happened. And oh my God. And I was young. I'm like 13 or 14. And she was like, have you had sex? I was like, no. She's like, what if you die tomorrow? You'll die and never have had sex? It's like you weren't even alive.
Jeez.
And I was like, whatever it sounds super intense. And now I'm scared. But I remember it was like, I'll never forget those words. It was like, if you die before you lose your virginity.
Did you even live?
There was no life you lived. Why were you born? And now I look back and I go like, oh, poor child. She probably never had sex.
No, she never did.
No.
She never did.
No, she tried and got rejected and he slept with someone else.
Yes.
And now she had to walk out and make it seem like she had sex with this man.
It was magical.
It was magical. And I saw through another universe. And now I need everyone to experience the thing that I have never experienced and tell me about it because I don't know what it's like.
It was she said she had sex with Skeet Ulrich. And like, I guess that was the heartthrob back then when you were 13.
He was.
There we go.
He was like the what, like the Johnny Depp 2.0.
On game night, we call it the poor man's Johnny Depp.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
exactly what he was. Equally as hot, man. Nobody was gonna say no.
But nothing poor man about Skeet Ulrich. Shout out Skeet
No, he was a good-looking man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, somebody called me like the poor woman's Angelina Jolie. I'd be like, thanks so much. So much, anything. So the whole episode the stories all come out because Jess gets a text from Teddy, who's in town and wants to get a drink, and Teddy's the guy who stole her flower, which is one of the funniest things with Jake Johnson too. Like, he stole something from you, I'm gonna go get him.
Yes.
So sweet, protective, loving, and completely does not understand it's a euphemism.
Exactly. So it's prom night. She starts to tell the story.
She tells a story.
Years 2000.
Oh my gosh, this scene, I was literally squirming in my seat.
With Johnny Pemberton. Shout out Johnny Pemberton.
He's just like, can I freak you towards the bed? Do I have your permission? Do I have your permission? Do you have permission? I remember having this conversation with Liz at some point and with other girlfriends at some point. This idea of like, where's the line?
Yeah.
Of like making sure everybody's on board with whatever's going to happen between us two people.
Right.
Without making it feel weird and like you need some intensity and energy and that's a delicate line.
Yeah.
And this guy's trying to do it all right, and you can just see her being like, "This is not working.
It's not working.
It's not working."
And obviously played again beautifully by Johnny Pemberton.
So funny.
And which I think was really cool because then she goes in the hallway and then meets a different guy.
Different guy, just being like swaggy.
Just all swagged out.
Yeah.
Trying to be swagged out.
All romantic, effortless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But but then we jump forward to.
I also like that you went out there to find a seam ripper.
Yes,
it's the most like Jess way of losing your virginity. Is like she's out in the hallway, not because she's like I need a minute. She's genuinely like I made the dress and I'm sewn in. I got to do it. I just like the fact that they kept her so on brand and so in character, even in the flashback. You're like, this tracks. I can
We
see
talked
this
about this. We were like, when I was watching it yesterday, and we were like, they look so much like them. I was like, that is Hannah.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit, that looks exactly like Hannah. And every time she's in that flashback, I'm like, that's the most perfect casting I've ever seen.
I know, and they're little.
So flashback junior year of college, Schmidt knows Nick, or Schmidt shows Nick that he bought lube. Right?
Yes.
Because he plans on merging with Elizabeth.
And he says his nickname in high school was the sex haver, which was basically what that girl was in my high school. She was the sex haver for sure.
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah. And Schmidt, I love when Nick pretends to know everything.
Yeah.
You know, one of his questions that he asks is, if I pee in a girl, will she die?
It's really
Which
sweet.
is a question that I'm gonna put out there for you guys out there. Is that the thing?
That's I mean, I remember a friend of mine, he had never had sex before. He was getting married.
Mm-hmm.
They were both virgins.
Oh, wow.
And he was just like, so we're gonna, on the wedding night do it. And I was like, listen, I'm gonna give you a tiny piece of advice. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do it on the wedding night. Like, just get to know each other and hang out and make out. Just don't be like, you're supposed to have sex on the wedding night. I've been waiting for a very long time. And I was like, you don't really know what's going on. Maybe just like meet the body.
Yeah.
Take a good look around.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, well, I have a sister. Like, I know like all sorts of stuff that goes on with women's bodies and
We're from
whatever.
West Virginia,
and he goes, and he goes, like, I know you guys pee yourself all the time. I says, sir, what do you mean? I mean, like, we pee all the time, like normal humans, we pee. And he's like, well, that's why you have those like little stick-on diapers that you wear all the time. I said, do you know what a period is? And he said, like, in a sentence? Lamorne, I literally was like, you're getting married in a week. There is not enough time. There's not enough time to explain all the things. And I literally was just like, listen, you're going to learn a lot of things. Like there's bleeding. There's like a lot of things that are going to surprise you and they might scare you with this woman. I ask one thing of you is, please don't have sex with her on your wedding night. You know the least of anyone I've met. And I've spoken to like 5-year-olds. Yeah. Like, please just marry her and then just sit on the far end of the table and talk to her and get to know what a woman.
Was this one of those arranged marriages?
Kind of, actually. Huh. It was through a Christian college.
Oh, boy.
They weren't allowed to kiss or hold hands or anything. And so he was really wanted to have sex. And he's like, so I got to get married. And so they went to go get married. They had to go to a counselor first because they had to work on forgiveness because she had a few years before he was with him, she had kissed a boy once.
So she had to go through training.
Yeah. To
get that out of her system.
That's right. Forgiveness.
Are they still married?
Because she didn't wait. I don't know. We lost touch.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, I just remember him being like, well, you guys pee yourself all the time. So you wear those stick-on diapers. And I was like, oh my gosh. Oh, wow. Okay. Anyway, that story would have fit perfectly in this episode because I feel like that's about as much as Schmidt and Nick knew about sex.
Well, Nick takes shrooms. So have you ever done shrooms? Don't answer that.
No, I haven't.
No?
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, and was it this accurate depiction of what can happen? You think that you have a magnet in your hand?
Yeah, I was talking to like animals.
Real animals or animals you were imagining? Real
animal. They weren't. They might have been real. I'm not sure. But I also thought John Hamm was the devil.
Was he there?
He was there.
You did shrooms with John Hamm?
He didn't do any.
Oh.
I was on shrooms.
And John Hamm was in the room and maybe animals.
Yes. I left. He had told me I should go drink some water. And when he said I should go drink some water, his voice was so deep. And there was like a red neon light behind him that I immediately put 2 and 2 together and went, Satan. Yeah, he's trying to drown me out.
Yeah.
And so I got up and I walked away to go get water. I thought I was being like cool about it. Like, yeah, dude. And apparently I because when I retold the story to him, he was like, yeah, dude, I told you to go get some water because you were kind of out of it, and then you ran. I was like, is that what I did? He's like, yeah, dude, you bolted out into the forest. And so I ran into the forest.
The forest?
Yeah.
Where were you with John Hamm?
I was in Ohio. I was at Dave
story is
Chappelle's house.
You were at I feel like we should have set the scene first.
I was trying to skip through it because I don't want to implicate nobody. But I was like, I thought like I would do some shrooms before this party because I was like, cool, man. All these, but I didn't realize that I would be the only one.
Oh, that's the nightmare.
I was like,
you're in the nightmare.
Fuck.
You're the show.
Yeah. So it was me. Anyway.
You're in a Jordan Peele movie.
Exactly. So Jordan, Jordan, write that up. Put me in it. Daniel Kaluuya's busy.
Movies, yeah.
So Nick takes mushrooms and then he trips balls, and then and when Schmidt and Elizabeth they return to the dorm room because remember they're gonna do it to each other. He tries to sneak out, but Schmidt slips off of the bed. And
I swear
falls
this
on Nick.
scene had me. I fell off my couch last night. I was watching it. I forgot. It's the way that Max chooses to try and sit up. One had me dead. Yeah. It made no sense. None. It was full, like, just wacky. And then Jake, because it's not written. They just probably said, help him get up the ladder. Yeah. Puts his head in Max's butt and tries to push and slips. I was done. I was like, I would have paid anything. I remember seeing them coming from shooting that scene to whatever scene we were going to do. And everybody's eyes were like red, crying. They're like, it was the craziest thing and the funniest thing to have ever witnessed.
My favorite is, and I don't know if this is intentional, and this is a bit of trivia for you. Obviously, you have the notes in front, so you're going to cheat. But like, Schmidt yells, "I'm coming, Elizabeth."
Yeah. When
he's about to go up there and do the thing. He yells, "I'm coming, Elizabeth." I don't know if anybody else caught that, but that is a line from Sanford and Son, Red Fox. Red Fox and Sanford and Son, his wife Elizabeth passed away. And so every time something bad happens, he always fakes a heart attack and he goes, "Oh, this is the big one. Oh, this is the big one. I'm coming, Elizabeth. I'm coming to join you, honey."
Yeah.
Yeah. And Max screams, "I'm coming, Elizabeth." Max is such a sitcom fan and he studies it and he understands the world of multicam. I wonder if he knew that.
What's funny is I remember the line when I watched it, but it sounded like ADR to me. And I wonder if it's something he thought about when they're like, we need you to do something to like talk to her. Like right now it's just you and Nick rolling around in some lube.
Right.
Let's acknowledge the woman at the top of the bed. Let's do something about that. Say something. And I wonder if then he made the choice intentionally afterwards, because it sounded like an ADR line to me.
Yeah, it possibly was.
Yeah,
it possibly was. And I was curious when I watched that. I was like, I wonder if anybody out there. I wonder if any fans caught that. I know Max did, but I'm wondering if the folks in TV land out or the viewers caught that. Do yourselves a favor. Go watch some Sanford and Son. It's one of the greatest TV shows of all time.
We need a side-by-side of those moments.
Ooh, let's do that.
Ooh,
I'm coming, Elizabeth.
Flip it up there.
I'm coming to join you,
All
honey.
right, when we come back, we're going to talk about how Winnie the Bish fell in love with a beautiful woman. Then a very sweet loss of his flower.
We are back.
We're back.
Okay, let's jump into Winston's virgin story.
With the business trip to New York.
I love the fact that it's a business trip to New York, and they're pretending to be businessmen.
There's something about how Jake with the braces chooses to talk that also had me crying because when you know your friend, I could tell he loved that whole getup so much. He loved playing this character so much. You could just tell, which just tickled me. It made me laugh so much.
Oh, 100%. 100%. That's like, he talked about this before on this show, The Mess Around, that he just finds it. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, oh, and we get so many takes and you're kind of playing around with it a little bit. I could tell immediately he might have had something in his mind, but the moment he put the braces on,
That's right.
It was like, oh yeah, this is where I'm gonna go.
And the hair,
Yes.
The way the hair was. It was also funny because I could tell you also loved it because I was like, man, I've never seen Lamorne lick his lips so many times. It was the craziest thing in the world. I was like, you would do it before every single line you delivered. Also had me rolling last night.
So, fun fact, I was doing LL Cool J. LL Cool J.
Ladies love.
Whenever I think, oh, I got to go into like sexy mode, I immediately go LL Cool J because he licks his lips all the time.
So much.
He's always like.
He's just hungry.
And he's always rubbing his hands together. Like, like, ooh, he about to dive in.
Yeah.
That boy hungry. That's a feast in front of him.
That's right.
So that's what I was like. That's what I was doing in that moment. So LL Cool J, if you're watching, I stole from you, and for that I apologize.
It is so funny because I will say this. I remember growing up in Cyprus, when we would have these conversations with friends. A lot of like the local boys, their dads did do this. There was a lot of sex workers on the island, and they would take their
Cyprus?
You're like, where is it?
No, I was just curious. I didn't know.
In Cyprus. I'm sure it happens in a lot of places, but I just remember people being like, oh yeah, I had sex with, and whatever, at whatever age. And I was like, with who? She your girlfriend, whatever. And they'd be like, no, my dad. Like took me away for a weekend. Just then it came back. And I was like, what? In what world? But that was like a common thing.
No. Again,
I'm not saying for everybody, but I heard definitely more than one or two stories in my school, and we had a very small school.
Well, my dad wasn't around, so again, those are one of the things I didn't.
I mean, you're welcome.
I didn't know how to do.
Yeah,
I didn't know how to solicit sex workers.
Well,
I didn't.
And then you got on a TV show, and they showed you. They taught you.
I was like, oh, pretend I'm a businessman. Oh, go to New York. Oh, lick your lips.
Oh my gosh, Mysteria. Those actresses, honestly, were absolutely incredible.
Octopussy and Mysteria.
Mysteria. The naming. I wish I'd been in the room when they got to name what the women were going to be called. We heard that Berkeley Johnson was like the king of naming people. Yeah, it was from him because Octopussy is a crazy name.
So in this one, Winston, he did it. He lost his virginity for 10 long seconds.
Yeah. I know.
But meanwhile, Nick couldn't go through with it.
But he did discover his love of drinking.
Alcohol.
Yeah.
Yes. He's like, I love it, Dad.
It was so funny. He's like, yeah, I really didn't want to have sex with Oxy, but I did discover I love drinking. And then I was like, well, that's good.
Yeah.
And you're like, how many red flags is Farina going to drop here?
But it was a cool, even though it's a silly episode about hiring prostitutes to lose your virginity, it was a cool moment in that his dad was kind of like, listen, son, maybe this ain't the right thing for me to do, but I just don't want you to miss out on some things when you're overthinking life so much.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was a cool, even though it's kind of a weird way to deliver a message, it was like a fun moment or a nice moment between father and son in that.
Right. He wasn't mad at him that he didn't go through with it.
Yeah.
He was just trying to sit there and be like, just be open to things.
Exactly.
Maybe not the things I'm bringing you, but be open to things.
Just be open.
Okay, when we come back, we have to talk about one of the most infamous flashbacks in the New Girl world.
Yes.
Which was the sliding doors moment at the bar.
Hannah, you said you wanted to discuss a flashback that happened, but before we get into that flashback, I wanna recap some of the episodes in which you had a job to do and you failed. Damn near all of them. That recap ended. You were supposed to find the bear, and in damn near every episode you didn't.
I found a panda bear.
I mean, did you?
I did.
I mean, come on.
I found Max Greenfield shouting about da bears.
Hannah, what episode are we on? 20-something?
Mm-hmm.
And you found 2?
No, I found lots of bears.
Oh, jeez.
I found bare feet.
Did you find one in this episode?
Teddy bear. Look, sometimes we have to be creative with the bear.
It could be Teddy Bundy.
Teddy bear.
Oh my God. Okay, so
that's what these streets are saying.
If the streets are saying teddy bear, then the streets is done, yo. Streets is done.
They're on my side, and you just don't appreciate it.
Okay, so
let's talk about the flashback because
yes.
I remember reading this at the table read, and I loved it so deeply because I feel like that's always the question, right? Had any of these people ever met before?
Right.
Had we crossed paths before?
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
Yeah. It's actually really cool to see. It was very cool to see. It was kind of like, I don't know how to describe it, but it was a cool treat for fans of the show.
Yeah, to see like Schmidt like approach Cece and ask his dumb question and walk away, and she's like, ugh. But then like there's like a little light in the eyes of like, I don't know, that guy's kind of funny.
Yeah, one day.
Yeah.
One day, who knows? That happens. I can tell you there maybe been 2 or 3 times in which I would meet a woman and not think anything of it. And then we end up kind of interested in each other years later. And we discover that we actually met before.
Yeah.
We met before. We met briefly at this party at this time and blah, 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 blah. And I go, whoa, I didn't know that.
But then you don't feel like it's about timing? Okay, all right. That was like Seinfeld. Like,
yeah. I only have sex to Seinfeld. Transition music.
That's the show we put on.
I don't know how it goes.
But I feel like if you meet like a lot of couples that have been together for a long time, always in their backstory, there is usually this like ships passing in the night moment. It seems to be quite common. Like the world is smaller than you think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
I love the fact that it happens and that they're not interested whatsoever and the girls laugh it off about how dumb those boys look.
Yeah.
And then we know, it's kind of reminds me of the end of the series. Right, when you get this epic flash forward.
Yeah.
Right? Because in a weird way, then, this whole series becomes the flash forward from that flashback.
Ah, yes. 100%.
Inception.
Ooh, look at us out here.
We solved it. We made it full circle.
So
we know that you lose your virginity. Winston loses his virginity. Nick falls in love with booze.
Yes.
That was his big coming of age moment. And so now we're still trying to figure out who is Teddy.
Who is Teddy?
Because just like a lot of women I know, including myself, Jess she's dialed it all the way back. So we have all of these false ideas of who Teddy is.
Yeah, but then we find out that, when she's this is interesting. She is in a little kid's castle at a playground.
That's right. Well, she sees him again. She sees the guy with the guitar in the bar. That's where in the bar flashback, she sees him again, right? And then they're like, let's go hit it.
Yeah.
And then they decide to go. They can't get to his place because he's like living in his car.
He's living in his car. She's sleeping on a friend's couch.
So they find somewhere else and they go into
a little kid's playground.
Correct.
To go and have sex. And so it's the actor is Dylan O'Brien, and Dylan O'Brien can't get hard.
That's right.
Dylan O'Brien cannot get hard. So I'm just going to put that out there. Okay. They get stuck in this castle.
Yes.
And he can't get hard because of his antidepressants.
That's right. So he's also like a bummer.
Yes.
And he can't perform the one thing that you would like him to do.
Right.
And now he's crying. It's a mess. He said it always works when he's alone in the shower.
And then he goes, yes, he does. then he goes, I might be gay, or I think I'm gay.
That's right. When all the firemen are there trying to like chop him out at this point. Then they realize that while they were there overnight, a man got murdered feet from them.
Right.
And they didn't witness the crime.
Right. But also what was crazy about this is that there were 2 crimes happening, but nobody got charged. You can't have sex at a playground. You can't be butt naked out at a park where children go.
That's right.
The fact that, let me tell you about white privilege. Okay? Let me tell you something. Okay? If I gotta pee real bad and I'm leaving the club late at night and I gotta pee, then I see a tree and I'm like, okay, let me go and pee right out the tree. And the cop pulled me over and I'm peeing because my wiener is out.
That's right.
And then he goes, boo, can't do that. You are now a sex offender.
That's right.
But they can go butt naked at a playground, and the cops come and they go, let's just get you home safe.
Well, I will say there was a little transactional moment that may have just made Teddy.
That's true.
Look the other way. He did have sex.
He did have sex with
her. But they're on the ride home, and then there were no charges laid.
Of course not.
So I'm just saying.
Sometimes, let me tell you something. Okay.
Price to everything.
How about this? I'm leaving the club, right? And I got to pee so bad. The line was long in the club, so I didn't want to go in there. So I say, I'm going to go outside by this tree. Pull it out, and I go to pee by a tree. No one's looking. Boo! woo. Police come. You know we're about to arrest you. And I go, should I have sex with you instead? Will this drop the charges?
I mean, it might work.
Because then I'll be a sex offender and I'll be accused of bribery. Trying to bribe a police with his dick. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this episode, I didn't like that last part. I was like, lock them up. Lock them up. Lock them up. That's what I was chanting at the TV.
Yeah. I mean, I was pretty shocked too. There's a lot of children standing around.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck is this
happening?
Y'all
but there was a murder that happened, so you kind of have to pick your battle.
So if you're going to offend sexually, make sure you do it in front of a crime scene.
That's right. Make sure a bigger crime is happening. That's right. I'm going to commit a crime. Let's go to a place where lots of crimes happen, and then they will pick the bigger crime. And that's what we just learned.
I know. But here's what I love about this episode is that people, they finally do the deed.
That's right.
And then we show their flashbacks, but then we show their current situation. Winston and Daisy. They get it on, and what we know excites Winston is being distracted a little bit, and they have to throw some Titanic on the TV.
The Titanic.
And they gets a little excited. You know what I'm saying? Cece wants to wait before having sex with Chevrong.
That was another moment. It's so interesting how they do that on this show. Again, because everyone's rooting for Cece and Schmidt. And Chevrong is like a very likable character. He's trying. He's not trying to be some like weird traditional person. He's just sort of like, all right, like, should we try this out so that, you know, and I know, and we can see how this works. But she really just doesn't want to have sex with him. It's really what it is. I don't think it's because she wants to wait. She's just realizing some things, and it's you get to see that moment in such a tiny little scene, which keeps like the hope alive for Cece and Schmidt.
And Schmidt and Elizabeth, they finally use the Archduke.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is also really funny.
It's just really funny. And the big moment, Nick and Jess finally have sex.
Forgot that happened.
Me too.
So I was like, oh, it's the end of the episode and it's all done. And then all of a sudden I was like, whoa, what's happening? And you know, because you can feel the building of the music when she gets in the elevator, right? When he hears the story of how like the fireman just like took her and it was like hot and sexy. How he just goes and you see the hand come in the elevator. I was like, Liz, everyone. I was like, huh? Oh my gosh. It was so awesome. And then the look they give each other the next morning where they're both like,
oh boy. That was
when you don't have words because now you've done the undoable.
That's right. That's true.
You can't go back to how it was before now forever.
Forever.
You know things now.
I know what you feel like.
That's all the things.
I know what you taste like.
Oh, right, we don't know.
Cut that, guys. That is nasty stuff. I'm sure they didn't do any of that.
I don't think they did any of that, but it was just like it was just like such a surprising moment. This is why the rewatch for me is so fun. I genuinely forgot that this is the episode where like Jess has it with Nick.
It was cool. The moment leading up to it.
Sexual experience is what it's about between Jess and Nick, not about all these stories.
Right. The moment leading up to it when she's like, I'm about to go meet him. And he's like, kind of like, are you sure? Like,
he also just cracked what turns her on, which was such an interesting thing. That's what like Nick learns throughout all of it, because there's the sweet guy being like, can I have your permission? Do I have your permission? Do I have your permission? And it didn't work. Then there's the guy who's like all emotional and it just didn't work. And then there was just like the hot fireman being like, I'm just scooping you up and this is what's happening. And he was like, oh, he just like sorted it. I'm going to have the best chance at that. This is what it's going to be like. Do you think?
So for all the fellas out there, what you're saying is just go and club her over the head and drag her to your cave?
No, what I'm saying is ask questions.
Shout out to the first guy. I know, that's so hard. Shout out to the first guy, Johnny Pemberton. He did it right. You know what I'm saying? Are you okay? Do you feel safe? Is this cool? You know,
he's doing it right.
Like he did it right. Don't be a fireman. Don't be a fireman. In real life, be a fireman. We need more good firemen out there. But like, don't be a fireman in relationships. Anyway, let's go to break. All right, we're back. Hannah, you trying to mess around?
Yeah, always.
Babe?
Yeah, babe.
Who do you think won the most embarrassing losing your virginity story? Because in the episode, it was a contest. Who's got the worst story? Who do you think won that one?
I mean, I feel like Loki, it's Winston. I feel like it's pretty embarrassing to be like, I lost it to a prostitute that I did not know was a prostitute. Is a pretty
decades,
embarrassing story. I mean, because Schmidt is with someone that he loves and cares about.
Yes. But
Nick
she's
didn't.
blinded by lube.
That's true. She is blinded by lube.
Yes.
But they care about each other.
Yeah.
They're I like where she's like, I think we have enough lube. She's like wiping it out of her eyes. So funny. Merritt Weaver's so funny. Yeah, I feel like everybody else's stories. I will say a really fun fact that most people do not know about this episode is that up until the day it happened, Cece's famous story of the famous person she lost her virginity to was gonna be Snoop Dogg. Snoop. And it was going to be Snoop. But Snoop is infamously hard to get a hold of. Not the best of returning calls is what they learned at that time period. I don't know what it's like now. What's up, Snoop? And didn't show up. So they had to scramble, and then they just kind of like made up a name.
Snoop, I hope you're watching this. You didn't return our phone calls, but Prince did.
That's a fact. Mind you, Prince was an incoming call.
Yeah.
We were trying to call Snoop, but Prince called us.
We had some iconic musicians on this show.
Taylor Swift. In this season, Snoop, you could have been in the Taylor Swift season. And it would have been the Snoop and Taylor Swift season.
It would have been the Snoop season.
Yeah. You would have been in the history books of New Girl.
And what has your career amounted to?
I know. Where's the legacy, Snoop?
Now you got nothing. You could have had something.
Could have had something. Could have been in my flashback. Hashtag regrets.
Okay, so which Loftmate's virginity story do you most relate to?
I really did like the Schmidt Elizabeth story. I think it's probably the most accurate of two people that don't know a lot.
Yeah.
And one trying to overcompensate in a way that makes it so weird and crazy.
Yep.
I think that's probably one of the most relatable and sweet ones. I think also Jess's storyline is probably true too, where you're like, this high school boyfriend I really like. And then as you're kind of actually realizing what it's going to be about, you realize, oh, there's no passion here.
Yeah, none.
We're just both like good at math. Like this is not going to work.
Yeah.
Sexual energy and chemistry is a different thing. We do not have it. And your body is primal. It'll just be like, no.
Yeah, that's
back
true.
Up, walk away.
Yeah, I never did it to a mathlete. Never did.
Never got those numbers.
I think for me, it would be Schmidt and Elizabeth as well, just because it was my girlfriend.
Yeah.
It was my girlfriend. You know what I mean? The only difference is I was a virgin, she was not.
Oh. Was that helpful in the balance of the situation? Or did you feel like, I don't know what I'm doing, she has to tell me everything?
I say it was helpful. Because she was, some people think that you got to walk in there and lay it down and know.
That's what I'm saying. That's not the vibe.
That's not how
it's not
it
the vibe.
works.
If you don't know what you're doing, don't.
Listen, don't
try
like
to watch
do.
any instructional videos either. That's also not the vibe.
Because let me tell you something.
We help you.
Some of these videos on the hub, they ain't very instructional.
The who?
The hub.
I'm not asking any more questions.
If you know, you know. But don't watch that.
I can feel
That's guidance.
Kyle giggling. I feel the giggle. I can't even see him, but I feel Kyle giggling.
Don't watch those videos. You got to talk to your partner. You got to communicate.
This is right.
And I learned that at an early age.
All right. Well, this last question is, what did you think when reading the script for the first time and seeing Nick and Jess finally get it on? And I don't actually remember.
Me either.
And I really, when I watched it last night, my jaw hit the floor. Because I always just remember this season about being about the cooler kiss. I genuinely thought that's as far as it went. I didn't realize that then this happened. And this is what I love so much about Liz. And Liz wrote this episode where she's like, these are grown-ups. Yeah. This is not a teenager show. Like, these are grown-ups and they have that chemistry. They've been battling it at some point. Something's going to happen. They live together. And I just love the way the buildup of it was, which is we're all going to talk about how we lost our virginity, what that looked like. And Jess talks about all these failed attempts, basically of vibes that just did not work. And then he cracks the code.
Mm-hmm.
And then he gets his hand in that elevator.
Mm-hmm. That's what you got to do. Next time you're walking down a hallway, fellas, office building, could be a doctor's office, could be an apartment complex. If you see a young lady go into the elevator and it's closed, stick your hand in there real fast.
You're gonna lose your hand.
Go.
I will say, how many romantic comedies and I feel like have that moment where the girl is like so mad and then it goes running away and gets in the elevator and you see the hand come in and stops it. And he's like, I'm not letting you leave. So many movies have used that trope.
Yeah.
And it has that like weird like sense of recognition to be like, he's not going to lose her.
He's not going to give up. He went the extra mile. He's stopped the door from closing.
He stopped his fingers.
He really put himself out there. Not on my watch. Like, yeah, man, you really went for it, bro.
Wait,
call me when she at the airport and you buy a ticket to hop over to go through TSA and then you stop her from getting on that plane. Or you get on that plane, you know what I'm saying? Then you take her in the bathroom, you know what I'm saying? That's
okay.
That's when you really did something. I mean, you 2 feet away from your apartment door. Congratulations.
That was very sweet.
Whatever.
There was a line, I can't remember where it was. But I made me laugh out loud where they say like, aren't you a virgin? And he goes, just my penis.
Yeah, just my penis, baby. Just my penis. But that was me for a while.
That made me laugh for a while to be like, that's just like trying to select swaggy, like you got all the experience.
But that was me for a while. I don't know if that was me for a while. I lost my virginity late. And I'd done other stuff. I just never
just your penis.
Just the penis stuff was last.
I feel like you went out for like a drink with like Liz and Brett and Dave and told them some
Probably.
things because it feels like there's a lot of truth woven into this.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Just my penis.
100%. Yeah.
Oh, you guys, this episode had me laughing.
Yes, and I hopefully you all laughed at the episode as well. I'm sure you did. That's why you're fans of the show. So thank you for listening. Also, make sure you follow us on IG at The Mess Around Pod.
Mm-hmm.
Get some of this merch. Not this one. Yeah, but this one too.
Cross promo.
Yeah, shout out to the Lamorne After podcast. We'll be back next week with episode 224. It's Winston's birthday.
Winnie the Bee has a bee day. See you there.
That was The Mess Around. This has been an iHeartMedia production. Our executive producer is Joelle Monique. Our engineer and editor is Mia Taylor. Additional production from Daniel Goodman, Wendy Heisler, and Kyle Chevron. Our theme song was written and composed by Ronald Jukebox Jackson. So we're going to catch you next time. Bye.